I didn't even finish my slice of cake. Not because it tasted bad, it was expensive cake. 3 tiers, smooth buttercream, fresh berries placed with surgical precision. Like the dessert itself had been trained to smile for photos. I didn't finish it because my mother leaned in close enough for me to smell her perfume, something sharp and floral that always made me feel 12 years old, and said, in a voice so calm it could have been a bedtime story, "Hannah, you need to take Lily and leave. Now." I blinked, still holding the plastic fork. My 7-year-old daughter, Lily, sat beside me in a tiny white cardigan I'd ironed twice. She had one hand around her paper cup of lemonade, and the other hand quietly pinching sprinkles off the top of her cupcake, like she was trying to remove the loudest part of the room. Kids do that when the air changes. They don't always know why, but they always know. The party was supposed to be a reset. That's what I told myself. A family gathering, a fresh start, not a holiday. Not Christmas, not Thanksgiving. Nothing with traditions heavy enough to crush you. Just my parents' backyard. A Saturday afternoon. A milestone banner stretched across the fence that read, "Happy 35th anniversary, Diane and Gary." My father, Gary, had insisted on the banner. My mother, Diane, had insisted the font match the table linen. And my older sister, Madison, had insisted on being the unofficial event manager of everyone's emotions. Madison was 6 years older than me, which doesn't sound like much until you grow up living inside that difference. 6 years is enough time for a family to decide who's the easy child and who's the difficult one. Madison was the light, the leader, the organized one, the one people complimented in grocery store lines. I was the one people sighed about after I left the room. Madison stood near the patio doors in a fitted dress, the color of champagne, laughing a little too loudly at something her husband, Brett, said. Brett looked exactly like he always did. Hands in pockets, grin half-loaded, eyes scanning the party like it was a job interview. He expected to pass without reading the resume. He had that talent, being smug without saying anything. Across the yard, cousins hovered near the catered buffet, loading their plates with brisket and pasta salad. Aunt Denise was already tipsy enough to tell everyone how family is everything, while simultaneously whispering about who'd gained weight. And through all of it, my mother floated like a hostess in a home makeover show, smiling, posing, touching shoulders, laughing at comments that weren't funny. The kind of woman who loved the appearance of warmth more than actual warmth. Lily had been polite all afternoon. She said hello to relatives who barely remembered her name. She didn't run around like Madison's boys, who were currently sword fighting with plastic utensils, while Madison pretended not to see. Lily sat close to me, not clinging, just anchored, as if her little body had already learned that my side was the safest side. I should have listened to that earlier, because the party had been tense from the moment we arrived. It started with the greetings. My mother kissed the air near my cheek and said, "Oh, honey, you look tired." Not "how are you?" Not "I'm glad you came." Just tired, like my face was failing at being decorative. Madison looked Lily up and down and smiled the way people smile when they're judging a decision that wasn't theirs to make. "Aw," she said, "white cardigan. Brave." With kids running around and food everywhere. Then she turned to her sons and said, with theatrical cheer, "Boys, don't get messy near your cousin, okay? Lily's mom likes things neat." Brett chuckled like she'd made a clever joke. "She's always been that way," he added, like I was a weird setting on an appliance. I swallowed it. I always swallowed it, because Lily was watching. Because I wanted one afternoon where Lily could hear adults laughing and think, maybe we still belong somewhere. So I did what I always do. Smile, nod. Pretend I didn't feel the little stabs. Then the cake came out. Everyone gathered near the long table, phones lifted. Madison clapped her hands and loudly announced, "Okay, everybody in. This is the moment." My mother stood beside my father, chin lifted, eyes bright. My father looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be fixing a lawnmower than celebrating a marriage he mostly endured. Madison angled her body for the best light, and I stupidly, hopefully, held Lily's hand and stepped closer. I thought we were part of the picture. The camera flashes popped. Someone yelled, "Kiss her, Gary." My father did a quick peck on my mother's cheek. People cheered. And then, right as the noise peaked, Madison's voice cut through it. Okay. Before everyone runs back to the food, can we talk about something real quick? She said it with a laugh like she was about to announce a game, but I felt it. That drop in my stomach, because I knew Madison's version of real quick. It meant public. It meant planned. My mother's smile didn't change, but her eyes shifted to me. My father's gaze went to the ground. Brett folded his arms, already amused. Madison tilted her head toward Lily and me and said, "It's just, we need to clear the air about Hannah." The yard went quieter, not silent, but attentive. People love family drama the way they love reality TV. They pretend they don't, but their bodies lean in anyway. I felt Lily's fingers tighten around mine. I tried to keep my face neutral. "Madison," I said, "low warning, not here." Madison laughed again. "See, that tone, that's what I mean. Everything is always intense with you." My mother stepped closer, still smiling, and touched Madison's arm like she was calming a child. But she wasn't calming her, she was encouraging her. My mother said sweetly, "Hannah, honey, don't make this a thing. A thing. That's what they called my feelings, my grief, my stress. My whole life, compressed into a nuisance word." Madison looked around at the guests like she was seeking permission. Then she delivered it. "I think," she said, "it might be best if Hannah and Lily head out." There was a pause. Someone coughed. A cousin glanced at her phone like she just received a text. I stared at Madison. "Are you serious?" Madison's smile stayed in place. "We're trying to have a peaceful day. Mom and Dad deserve that." My mother nodded. "It's been hard, Hannah." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. Hard? For who? For them? My father finally looked up, eyes tired. He opened his mouth like he might say something decent. Then he closed it, same as always. Madison continued, voice getting bolder with every second. Nobody stopped her. "You bring this energy," she said, "like you're waiting for something bad to happen. And it makes everyone uncomfortable." I felt heat climb my neck. "My husband died 9 months ago." Madison's expression shifted into something practiced. Sympathy, but light, like she didn't want it to weigh down her outfit. "And we've all been supportive," she said quickly. "But you've been unpredictable." Brett chimed in, calm as a man ordering coffee. "Honestly, Hannah, you've made gatherings awkward since Caleb passed. It's like you want everyone to tiptoe." My mother's smile finally tightened. "Language, Brett. But yes, my daughter was right there, holding my hand, listening to adults talk about her mother like I was a stain on the event schedule." Lily looked up at me, eyes wide but dry. She didn't cry. She just looked, braced. That expression hit me harder than any insult, because it meant she'd learned to expect this from them. My mother leaned closer again, lowering her voice so only the front row could hear, close enough to pretend it was private while still letting everyone watch. "Hannah," she said, "take Lily home. And maybe don't come back to these kinds of gatherings for a while." My brain did something strange in that moment. It got quiet, not numb. Clear, like a fog lifted. Because suddenly I understood the real message. They weren't asking me to leave early. They were banning me, and they were doing it in a way that let them look reasonable. Madison crossed her arms, satisfied. "Thank you, that's all we're saying." My mother nodded, as if she'd just delivered a thoughtful boundary instead of a public rejection. My father didn't speak, not one word. I looked around the yard, at relatives who wouldn't meet my eyes, at Madison's kids still running around, still loud, still messy, still welcome. At Lily, small and still, standing beside me like she was trying to make herself invisible enough to stay. Something in my chest cracked, but it didn't break into tears. It broke into decision. I bent slightly toward Lily, keeping my voice gentle. "Sweetheart," I said, "go grab your little backpack from the chair by the patio. And your jacket, okay?" Lily didn't hesitate. No arguing, no confusion, just a soft, immediate okay, like she'd been waiting for me to choose us. She walked away fast, head down, slipping through legs and folding chairs. Madison's mouth twitched. "So dramatic," she muttered. My mother exhaled in relief, like the problem was finally cooperating. I straightened up and I surprised myself by smiling. Not warm, not friendly. The kind of smile you make when you realize you've spent years begging for a seat at a table that only values you when you're serving. "Okay," I said. Madison lifted her brows. "Good." My mother nodded, pleased. "Thank you for understanding." I took one slow step toward the gift table. Because yes, there was a gift table. My mother had insisted, even though it was their anniversary party, she'd still arranged it like a wedding shower, with wrap boxes and tissue paper and a sign that read, "Cards here. I'd brought a gift too. Actually, I'd brought 3. They weren't big boxes. No bows, no glitter. Just 3 thick envelopes, each with a name written across the front in black marker. Mom, Dad, Madison. I'd hidden them underneath a plain bag, tucked behind a stack of floral gift boxes so nobody would ask questions too early. Because it wasn't the kind of gift you waved around. It was the kind of gift you gave quietly if the moment was right. Turns out the moment was never going to be right. Madison's voice followed me. "What are you doing?" Brett chuckled. "Let her have her little moment." My mother's smile faltered when she saw the envelopes in my hands. "Hannah," I turned back toward them, still smiling. "Since you're saying it's better if we go," I said calmly, "then you won't mind me doing this." Madison squinted. "Doing what?" My mother stepped forward. "Hannah, don't." I took the envelope labeled Mom and tore it straight down the middle. The sound shouldn't have been loud. But it was. It was loud because everyone had stopped talking. It was loud because the party had paused to watch the unstable widow do something crazy. My mother's face strained a little. "Hannah, what is that?" I tore the envelope labeled Dad next. Slow, clean, deliberate. My father's eyes widened and I saw it. The first flicker of real fear. Not fear for me, fear of what I was destroying. Brett's grin faded. Madison's confident posture shifted, like her body suddenly remembered consequences existed. "Stop," Madison snapped, voice sharp enough to cut frosting. "Stop it right now." I looked at her and tore the third envelope. "Madison," without even pausing. Then I let the ripped pieces fall onto the gift table. Like confetti no one would dare celebrate. For a second, nobody moved. My mother stared at the paper. Madison lunged forward and grabbed a torn piece, flipping it over. And that's when her face changed. Not anger, not smugness, panic. Because whatever she saw on that torn strip, letterhead, numbers, a signature line, it was enough to make her hands start shaking. "Wait," Madison whispered, suddenly hoarse. "Wait, wait, wait." My father stepped closer, eyes scanning the scraps like he was trying to read a life raft instruction manual in the middle of a storm. My mother's mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. Then she finally found air. "Hannah," she said, voice cracking. "What did you just hear?" I tilted my head and kept my tone gentle, almost polite. "Exactly what you told me didn't matter," I said. Behind me, Lily reappeared near the patio with her backpack on one shoulder and her jacket clutched in her hand. Her eyes met mine. "Ready." I reached for her hand. She took it immediately. Madison's voice rose, sharp and sudden. "No, no, 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 you can't just leave." Brett stepped forward, palms out. "Okay, Hannah, let's not act irrational." I didn't look at him. I looked at my mother, the woman who had just told me not to come back. The woman who now looked like she might run barefoot across her perfect lawn if it meant catching what she'd just lost. "We're going," I said. And I walked Lily straight through the yard, past staring relatives, past the cake table with its untouched slices, past the banner that suddenly looked less like a celebration and more like a warning sign. I didn't run, because running makes people think you're guilty. I walked like I belonged to myself. And the second we stepped onto the driveway, I heard it. Footsteps. Fast, clumsy, desperate. My mother calling my name like she'd never called it when I needed her. "Hannah, Hannah, stop." Madison's voice behind her, higher than I'd ever heard it. "Come back, please. Just come back, please." That word didn't belong in Madison's mouth. It looked wrong there. Lily's hand tightened around mine. I opened the car door, lifted her in, buckled her seatbelt with fingers that were steady even though my heart was punching my ribs. My father reached the end of the driveway, breathless. He hadn't run like that in years. Funny how fast people move when the thing they want is leaving. "Hannah," he said, voice strained, "we need to talk." My mother grabbed the edge of the passenger door before I could close it. Her nails were manicured, her eyes were wild. "You can't do this," she whispered. "Please, please undo it." "Undo it? Not, I'm sorry. Not we were wrong. Just fix it." I gently removed her hand from the door, like I was handling something fragile and dangerous. "You already made your decision," I said. Then I shut the door. I got in the driver's seat. And I drove away while they stood in my rearview mirror. My mother in her party dress. My father with his face split between shame and fear. Madison barefoot on the driveway like she'd forgotten she was supposed to be the one in control. A minute passed, then two. The neighborhood blurred into streetlights and trees. Lily stared straight ahead, silent. I didn't want to look at her because I was afraid of what I'd see. But then she spoke, small and steady. "Mom, yes, baby. Are we in trouble?" My throat tightened. "No." She paused, choosing her next words like she was older than 7. "Then why were Grandma's eyes so scary?" I swallowed. Because the truth was simple and I hated it. Grandma's eyes weren't scary because she'd hurt Lily. They were scary because she'd realized she couldn't control me anymore. I kept driving, hands firm on the wheel, my voice as calm as I could make it. "We're not in trouble," I told Lily. "We're just done letting people talk to us like that." Lily nodded once, like she understood a rule she'd needed someone to say out loud. We rode in silence long enough for my phone to start vibrating in the cup holder. One call, then another, then another. "Mom, Dad, Madison, Brett." I didn't answer because Lily was in the car, and because if I heard my mother's voice right then, I wasn't sure I'd stay calm. 5 miles later, Lily whispered the question that finally made my chest ache in a new way. "Where are we going?" And that's when it hit me. I hadn't planned past leaving, because I'd planned on being welcomed. I'd planned on staying the night. I'd planned on waking up Sunday morning in my childhood house, making Lily waffles, pretending we were still a family. Now the sun was going down. My gas was half a tank. My daughter was exhausted, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing like a trapped insect. And somewhere behind me, in my mother's perfect backyard, they were probably on their knees at the gift table, trying to piece together torn paper, trying to read numbers, trying to calculate exactly how much kindness they'd just thrown out. I blinked hard and kept driving. Because next part is where you find out what was inside those envelopes, and why my sister's perfect anniversary party turned into the day she accidentally exposed what she'd been doing behind my back. Before we jump in, where are you watching from? Comment your city, state, country, and subscribe to Stories Untold and hit like so you don't miss the finale. I didn't stop driving until Lily's voice got small. "Mom," she whispered, staring at the streetlights passing like they were counting something. "Are we homeless now?" That question did something ugly to my lungs, because kids don't ask that unless they've been carrying fear quietly for a while. "No, baby," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hands wanted to shake. "We're safe." Lily nodded, but her mouth stayed tight. She wasn't crying, she was thinking, and that scared me more. I pulled into the parking lot of a hotel just off the highway. One of those clean, bright places with a lobby that smells like lemon cleaner and fresh carpet. Like safety you can rent by the night. The woman at the front desk smiled at Lily like she mattered. That alone almost made me fall apart. I booked a room with 2 beds, the kind with stiff white sheets and too many pillows. Lily climbed onto one bed fully dressed, shoes off, backpack still on one shoulder like she didn't trust the ground. I unzipped her backpack and placed it beside her gently. Then I sat on the edge of the other bed and stared at my phone. 15 missed calls, voicemails stacking up like threats. Texts that got angrier the longer I didn't answer. "Mom, please pick up." "Dad, call me now." "Madison, you're going to regret this." "Brett, stop acting unstable. Think about your kid." "Mom," Lily said softly. I turned toward her. She was looking at me the way children look at adults when they're trying to decide if the adult is still the adult. "Did I do something bad?" she asked. My throat tightened. "No," I said quickly. "No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong." Lily looked down at her lap, fingers twisting the edge of her cardigan. "Then why didn't Grandma want me there?" There it was, the question I'd been dreading. I scooted closer and sat beside her, Grandma and Aunt Madison. I stopped. I didn't want to poison Lily's heart, but I also didn't want to lie. They have problems. Adult problems. They say mean things when they want control. Lily frowned. Control of what? I opened my mouth, ready to give some soft answer about feelings and boundaries, and then my phone buzzed again. A new number. Not my mother. Not Madison. Unknown caller. I stared at it until it stopped. Then it rang again immediately. Unknown caller. My stomach dropped. Because people like Madison don't just call, they recruit. They turn the world into a choir and make sure every voice sings the same song. Hannah is the problem. I silenced the phone and forced a smile. Want to pick a movie? I asked. Lily hesitated. Can we watch something where people don't yell? That hurt in a way I didn't have a name for. Yeah, I said, voice tight. We can watch something gentle. We watched an animated movie with bright colors and jokes that didn't land for me. Lily laughed at the silly parts anyway, because she's Lily, 7 years old and determined to feel okay even when the adults are falling apart. Halfway through, she leaned against my shoulder and fell asleep. Her little breathing evened out, and I sat there in the dim hotel light, listening to it like it was proof I hadn't failed completely. Then my phone buzzed again, and again, and again. I waited until I was sure Lily was asleep before I picked it up. Mom, I answered. Hannah. My mother's voice burst into my ear, too loud, too desperate. The fake hostess tone was gone. This was raw panic. Where are you? Is Lily okay? I almost laughed. Now she wanted to know if my child was okay. Yes, I said quietly. She's fine. She's asleep, a breath on the other end. Then immediately my mother tried to switch tones. Softer, sweeter. Good, good. Honey, listen. We didn't mean today. You know we didn't. In the background, I heard Madison, sharp, close to the phone. Put her on speaker, she snapped. My mother hesitated, then a click, and suddenly it wasn't my mother calling to apologize. It was a family meeting. Hannah, my father said, voice hard. This has gone far enough. I stared at Lily's sleeping face and kept my voice low. You told me to leave your anniversary party. Silence. Madison jumped in. Because you were making a scene? I didn't raise my voice, I said. You tore things, Madison hissed. You embarrassed Mom. You embarrassed Dad. In front of everyone. My mother's voice broke in, trembling. Hannah, what were those papers? There it was. Not. Are you okay? Not. Lily must be confused. Just what did you tear? I took a slow breath. I hadn't planned to explain. Not tonight. But I also wasn't going to let them rewrite the story into Hannah the unstable widow strikes again. They were gifts, I said. For you, for Dad. For Madison. Madison made a sound half laugh, half choke. Gifts? You mean bribes? My father's voice rose. Stop it. You're going to redo them. I blinked. Excuse me. You heard me, he said. You're going to fix this. Whatever that was. Check paperwork letter. You're going to redo it and bring it back. My mother slid in fast, trying to soften the demand with sugar. Honey, we were emotional today. You know how Madison gets when she's stressed. And it's our anniversary. We just wanted peace. But you don't have to punish us. Punish us. Like tearing paper was violence. Like telling a 7-year-old to leave wasn't. Madison snapped. You think you can take it back now? You think you can tease us with... She stopped herself mid-sentence, like she'd almost said the quiet part out loud. Tease us, not love. Not reconciliation. Want. I whispered, Lily can hear you if you get loud. Then step outside, my father barked. I stared at Lily, her hair fanned across the pillow like a tiny halo of trust, and I realized something clean and terrifying. If I stepped outside, I would be leaving Lily alone in a strange room because my family wanted to argue about what they were owed. No, I'm not stepping anywhere, I said. My father's voice went icy. Hannah, stop acting like a victim. Madison chimed in, sweet and poisonous. You do this. You always do this. My mother's voice sharpened. Just tell us what it was, Hannah. I closed my eyes. Okay, you want to know what it was, fine. But it wasn't going to be the version they could twist into entitlement. It was going to be the truth. They were payoff letters, I said. And checks, silence. Then my mother inhaled like she'd been punched. A check, Madison whispered. I kept my voice low. I had one for your mortgage, Mom, one for Dad's medical debt, and one for Madison. Madison let out a sound like she was trying not to scream. How much? I'm not discussing that, I said. My father's voice turned urgent. Hannah, that's family money, family money. Like my husband's death had generated a shared coupon. My hand tightened around the phone. It was money I planned to give you, money you were never entitled to. Madison's voice shot up. You can't do that. You can't just... After everything we've done for you. I stared into the darkness of the hotel room. Everything they'd done for me. My mother had posted online about helping me once. Like she'd sponsored a charity case. Madison had treated my grief like an inconvenience at her party. My father had stayed silent like always, only finding a voice when money got involved. Everything you've done, I repeated. My mother tried to interrupt. Hannah, sweetheart. No, I said, calm but sharp. You don't get to do that thing where you talk over me and call it love. Madison's voice got cold. So you admit it. You have money. I didn't answer, because the truth was yes. And I hadn't told them for a reason. Because the moment they knew, I'd stop being Hannah. I'd become a number. Madison continued, voice tightening with glee and rage. How much did you get? A settlement? Life insurance? What is it? I didn't respond. My father said, Hannah, this is bigger than your feelings, bigger than my feelings. Like my husband's death was a family resource they were managing. I lowered my voice even more. This conversation is over. Lily is asleep. We're safe. We're not coming back tonight. Madison snapped, You're coming back. No, I said simply. My mother's voice cracked. Hannah, please. Not for Lily. Not for me. For the paper. For the checks. For the fantasy of control. I ended the call. Then I turned my phone face down and sat there in the quiet like I'd just walked out of a burning house and realized I might still smell smoke forever. I thought that was the end of it for the night. It wasn't. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Text. Unknown number. You can't keep Lily from family. Call me. Aunt Denise, then another. Hannah, I heard what happened. This is not you. Please respond. Cousin Mara, then another. Your mom is devastated. Fix it. Uncle Ray, my stomach sank. Madison had moved fast. Because Madison doesn't fight alone. She fights with witnesses. She fights with an audience. She fights by controlling the narrative before the truth can put its shoes on. I opened Facebook, the app I hadn't had the energy to touch much since Caleb died. And there it was, Madison's post. A photo from the party, not the anniversary couple, not the cake, not the banner. A photo of me, mid-step, Lily beside me, my jaw clenched, my eyes wide, my hand gripping her backpack strap. It looked like a screenshot from a crime documentary. Madison's caption was long. Of course it was. It started with, I never thought I'd have to do this, and ended with, some people will do anything for attention. Then, halfway through, she dropped the line that made my blood run cold. Hannah has money from Caleb's death. A lot of it, and she's using it to punish our parents. I stared at the screen. My hands went numb, because that wasn't just drama. That was a signal, a dinner bell. It told everyone in our family exactly what Madison wanted them to know. There's something to take. Comments poured in. Prayers, sympathy, fake concern. Poor Diane and Gary. This is heartbreaking. Hannah needs help. That little girl shouldn't be around instability. Family should step in. Step in. That phrase, heard people say it about a mother, never means bringing casseroles. It means bringing authority. My mouth went dry. I scrolled and saw Madison reply to someone with a little heart emoji and the sentence that made me sit up straight. We're already exploring options. Lily deserves stability. Exploring options. My stomach turned. I looked over at Lily, asleep, safe, unaware, and suddenly the cliff edge appeared beneath my feet. Because I knew Madison, I knew how she thought. Madison didn't just want money, she wanted power. And if she couldn't control me, she'd go around me, through Lily. My phone buzzed again, a call. This time it wasn't unknown. It was my daughter's school. I froze. For 1 second my brain refused to process it. Because it was past 10 p.m. Schools don't call at 10 p.m. unless something has happened. I answered, heart hammering. Hello. A woman's voice, cautious and professional. Is this Hannah Parker? Yes, I said quickly. Yes, what's wrong? Is Lily okay? But pause. Then Lily is fine. She's not here. This is Mrs. Collins, the school counselor. My throat tightened. Why are you calling me right now? Mrs. Collins sighed. And in that sigh, I heard the weight of a job that deals with people's lives. I'm calling because someone contacted our emergency line and left a message about Lily, she said. They claimed you're having a mental health crisis and that Lily may not be safe. My vision went sharp. Madison. It was Madison. Mrs. Collins continued carefully. They said they're her aunt and that they're prepared to pick her up tomorrow morning if necessary. My hands started shaking. Who, I said slowly, was it? Mrs. Collins paused then. Madison read. I swallowed hard. Lily's aunt, my sister, my daughter's blood, using the school like a weapon. What exactly did she say? I asked. Mrs. Collins hesitated. She said you became unstable at a family event and that you ran off with Lily. She used the word kidnapped. Kidnapped. My knees went weak. Because I understood what Madison was doing now. She was building a paper trail, creating a story that could become official if enough people signed their names under it. I forced my voice steady. Mrs. Collins, Lily is with me. She is safe. We are in a hotel. I left my parents' house because they told us to leave and not come back. My daughter heard it. Mrs. Collins went quiet for a beat. Then more gently, do you have anyone with you? No, I said. Just Lily. Another pause. Okay. I need you to listen carefully. I'm not making any reports tonight. But if Madison contacts us again or shows up at school, we have to follow procedure. Procedure. That word is how lies become problems. My throat felt raw. What do I do? Email me, she said, tonight. Explain in writing that Lily is safe with you. And if you have any documentation, texts, messages, save them. Documentation, texts, messages. I looked back at Madison's Facebook post, at the comments calling me unstable, at the line about exploring options, and suddenly, the torn envelopes from the party flashed in my mind like a warning. Madison hadn't panicked because I hurt her feelings. Madison panicked because she saw a threat to her plan. A plan that wasn't just about checks. It was about access, about custody leverage, about control. I whispered, okay. Mrs. Collins softened. Hannah, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Please send that email and keep your phone on. I stared at the phone in my hand like it had turned into something dangerous. Then my gaze slid to Lily again. Still sleeping, still trusting. And I felt something rise in me that I hadn't felt since Caleb's funeral. Not grief, not fear. A cold, focused kind of rage. Because Madison had crossed the one line that makes a person stop negotiating forever. She brought my child into it. I got up quietly and went into the bathroom so I wouldn't wake Lily. I turned on the fan, sat on the closed toilet lid, and opened my camera roll. I started screenshotting everything. Madison's post, Madison's comment about options. The cousin replies. The relatives telling me to apologize. Brett's earlier text calling me unstable. My mother's messages demanding I undo it. I saved it all. Then I opened my banking app and I pulled up the last 3 years of transactions. Because yes, while Madison played the golden daughter, I'd been quietly helping our parents, not for applause, not for control. Because I kept believing love could be earned through sacrifice. Every month, there it was. A payment to Dad's cardiologist, a payment toward Mom's credit card, a transfer labeled HOA, a transfer labeled Dad Meds, and I realized something with a strange, bitter clarity. They had been taking from me for years. They just didn't like that I had finally become someone they couldn't intimidate. I drafted an email to Mrs. Collins. Short, calm, factual. My daughter Lily is safe with me. We are temporarily staying at a hotel following a family conflict. No one has permission to remove Lily from school except me. If anyone attempts, please contact me immediately. I attached screenshots of Madison's post. Then I hovered over send, and my hand shook. Not because I wasn't sure, but because sending it made it real. It meant Madison had officially turned into an enemy. Not a sister, not family, an opponent. I hit send. Then I opened my notes app and typed something else. Not for the school, for myself. For the moment Madison tried to escalate again. A timeline. Times. Quotes. Because in fights like this, the person who stays calm wins. And Madison's biggest weakness was that she couldn't stand losing the role of victim. I went back into the room. Lily stirred a little, eyes fluttering. Mom, I sat beside her. I'm here, she blinked sleepy. Are we going back tomorrow? My chest tightened. I smoothed her hair. No, baby, we're not. Lily stared at me for a long second, then whispered, okay. No argument, no begging, just acceptance. As if she already knew the truth, going back wasn't going to make them love us. It was only going to make us small again. I tucked her in tighter, kissed her forehead, and waited until her breathing evened out. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and stared into the dark. Because now I had to plan, not for how to fix my family, for how to protect my daughter from it. My phone buzzed again. A message from Madison. One line. You have until morning. Bring what you tore, or I'll make sure you lose her. I stared at that sentence until the letter stopped looking like English and started looking like poison, and that's when the final piece clicked into place. The envelopes, the panic, the smear campaign, the school call. Madison wasn't improvising. She was executing. She had been waiting for an excuse to paint me as unfit, waiting for a moment where the family could step in, waiting for leverage. And I had just handed her the stage by leaving, by not coming back, by refusing to fold. I took a slow breath and whispered into the quiet room, barely louder than Lily's sleep. Wrong mother. Because if Madison wanted a war, she was going to learn something she'd never had to learn before. I might be quiet, but I keep receipts, and I have something she doesn't. Next part is where Madison shows up at Lily's school and finds out the unstable widow she tried to destroy had already spoken to a lawyer and already set a trap she walks into on camera. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to Stories Untold and hit like. Because this part is the moment everything snaps. I didn't sleep. Not really. I lay in the hotel bed with one eye open, staring at the dark ceiling while Lily breathed softly in the other bed, curled around her stuffed rabbit like it was a seatbelt. My phone sat face down on the nightstand. Not because I wasn't looking, because I was. Every few minutes, I'd flip it over, check it, flip it back. Like the screen could bite. Madison's last message was still there when I checked again at 2:14 a.m. You have until morning, bring what you tore, or I'll make sure you lose her. I read it again, slower this time. Not because I needed to understand it, because I needed to memorize what it felt like to see your sister threaten your child. There are people who love you. There are people who tolerate you. And then there are people who see you as an obstacle between them and what they want. Madison had finally admitted which one she was. I got out of bed carefully and went into the bathroom. I turned on the fan again, sat on the closed lid of the toilet, and opened my notes. Timeline. 2:30 p.m. arrive at party. 3:47 p.m. Madison tells me to leave. 3:51 p.m. Mom says, don't come back. 4:02 p.m. I tear envelopes. 5 p.m. I leave. 9:18 p.m. Madison posts on Facebook. 10:07 p.m. Counselor calls. Madison claimed kidnapped. 12:31 a.m. Madison threat text. I added one more line, and my fingers shook as I typed it. Next, Lily's school, because that's where Madison would go. Not because she cared about Lily's education, because schools have policies, paperwork, procedures, and Madison loved anything that looked official. At 3:06 a.m., I emailed my attorney. Not the family attorney my parents used. Not the friend of a friend Madison liked to name drop. A real attorney I'd met once after Caleb's accident. Because when the company started dragging its feet, I'd needed help just to survive the paperwork without drowning. His name was Martin Hale. Columbus, Ohio. Calm voice, sharp eyes, kind of man who listened without flinching. I'd only worked with him briefly, but I still had his contact. And at 3:06 a.m., I wrote, Madison Red threatened to take my daughter. She contacted the school claiming I'm unstable. I have screenshots. I need emergency advice. I attached the threat text. Then I stared at the screen until the sent confirmation appeared. When you're scared, you want someone bigger than your fear to say, this is real. You're not imagining it. At 4:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. Martin Hale. He called back. I stepped into the hotel bathroom and shut the door softly. Hannah, he said, voice low, steady. I got your email. My throat tightened. She called the school. She posted online. She's telling people I kidnapped Lily. Do you have custody orders with your husband's family? He asked. No, I said quickly. Caleb's parents are gone. It's just me. Then listen carefully, Martin said. Madison has no legal rights to your child, but she can cause chaos if she's allowed to create a narrative first. I swallowed. What do I do today? You document everything, he said. You contact the school in writing. You show them proof that Lily is with you and safe. You tell them, explicitly, that no one else has permission to pick her up. And if Madison shows up, they call you and law enforcement if needed. I squeezed my eyes shut. I already emailed the counselor. Good, he said. Now send the principal the same thing. Keep it short. Keep it factual. No emotion. Emotion was what Madison wanted. Emotion is what gets you labeled unstable. Martin continued also. Go to your local police station this morning and ask to make an informational report. You're not accusing her of kidnapping. You're stating that you received threats and that she may attempt to interfere at school. My stomach twisted. Police. Think of it like a timestamp, he said. A record that you did the responsible thing. I exhaled slowly. Okay, and Hannah, he added, do not meet her alone. I almost laughed at that, because Madison's favorite tactic was to corner me privately and then pretend it never happened. No, I said, I won't. Martin paused. One more question. Those envelopes, what were they? I stared at the bathroom sink as if it could answer for me. They were cashier's checks, I said, and letters. I was going to pay off my parents' mortgage and medical, and I was going to give Madison something too. Silence. Then Martin spoke carefully. How much are we talking? Enough, I said. He exhaled. Then this is not about your mental health. This is about money. Yes, I whispered. Okay, Martin said. Then we treat it like that, a predictable motive. A predictable escalation. You keep your daughter close, you stay calm, and you let Madison be the one who looks irrational in public. I ended the call and stared at my reflection. I looked like a woman who hadn't slept. But my eyes were different now, clear, because fear changes shape when it becomes a plan. At 6:30 a.m., Lily woke up and rubbed her eyes. Mom, she whispered, sitting up, are we going to school? I nodded gently. Yes, baby, her face tightened. Is Grandma going to be there? I swallowed hard. I don't know, but you're going to be safe. Lily stared at me like she was trying to decide whether to believe that. Then she nodded once. Okay, she didn't ask why. She didn't ask if Madison was mad. She just got out of bed, went to the bathroom, washed her hands, and put on her shoes like a tiny soldier who'd learned not to slow the adults down. That broke something in me, quietly, because no 7-year-old should know how to be that brave. In the car, Lily's backpack sat between us. I kept one hand on the steering wheel and one hand near my phone, ready. Not for Madison, for the school. For the moment something happened, because I could feel it coming, like thunder before rain. When we pulled into the school drop-off line, Lily didn't bounce like she used to. She looked out the window, scanning faces like she was searching for danger. Honey, I said softly. Look at me, she turned. You are not in trouble, I told her. And if anyone says anything confusing today, you tell Mrs. Collins you want to call me immediately. Okay, Lily nodded. And if you see Aunt Madison, I continued, keeping my voice calm, you don't go with her, even if she smiles. Lily's mouth flattened. She doesn't smile like you. That sentence hit me hard, because she was right. My smile was warmth. Madison's smile was strategy. I walked Lily to the front doors instead of letting her hop out at the curb. Inside the lobby, the secretary looked up and smiled automatically, then hesitated when she saw my face. Mrs. Collins appeared quickly like she'd been waiting. Hannah, she said quietly. Thank you for coming in. I nodded. I emailed you last night. And the principal? Yes, she said. We received it. Her eyes flicked to Lily, then softened. Hi, Lily. Lily tucked herself closer to my side. Mrs. Collins crouched slightly, keeping her voice gentle. You're okay, you're safe. Let's get you to class. Lily hesitated. I bent down and kissed her forehead. I'll be right here if you need me. She nodded, then walked away with Mrs. Collins, glancing back twice like she was checking to make sure I didn't disappear. The moment Lily vanished down the hallway, I felt my chest tighten. Mrs. Collins turned back to me. We did have another call this morning, she said. My stomach dropped. Madison, she nodded. She asked if Lily had arrived. She insisted she's an emergency contact. She isn't, I said, sharper than I meant. Mrs. Collins held up a hand gently. We know. The principal has instructed staff that only you can pick Lily up. If Madison arrives, we call you and we call law enforcement if she refuses to leave. I exhaled. Thank you, I said, voice thick. Mrs. Collins's expression turned serious. Hannah, is Madison safe to be around Lily? I stared at her, because that was the question. Not is Madison annoying? Not is Madison dramatic safe? I took a breath. She threatened me last night. She said she would make sure I lose my daughter. Mrs. Collins's face tightened. Do you have that in writing? Yes, I said. Screenshot. Okay, she said quietly. Then you did the right thing by telling us. I left the school and sat in my car for a full minute without starting the engine. My hands trembled. Not because I didn't know what to do, because I knew exactly what Madison would try. And knowing doesn't always make fear disappear. It just changes it into vigilance. I drove straight to the police station. I made an informational report, exactly as Martin suggested. A calm officer took my statement, glanced at the screenshots, and nodded like he'd seen this kind of family manipulation before. He didn't roll his eyes. He didn't dismiss me. He simply said, "If she shows up at the school and refuses to leave, have them call us." I walked out of that station with a copy of the report in my hand. And it felt like armor. Not because police solve everything, because paper matters to people like Madison. Paper is what she used to try to crush me. Now paper was what would protect me. At 11:37 a.m., my phone rang. The school. My heart slammed into my ribs. I answered immediately. "This is Hannah." Mrs. Collins's voice came through, tight and controlled. "Madison is here." My whole body went cold. "Is Lily with her?" I asked. "Already moving? Already turning the ignition key?" "No," Mrs. Collins said. "Lily is in class. Madison is at the front desk. She's demanding to see the principal. Do not let her near Lily," I said. "We aren't," Mrs. Collins replied. "But Hannah, she brought paperwork." "Paperwork? Of course she did." "What kind?" I asked, voice flat. "I don't know," Mrs. Collins said. "She says it's an emergency guardianship form, signed by your parents." My throat tightened so hard it hurt. My parents, signing something, after telling me not to come back. After watching my daughter walk out of their party like she wasn't family. Now they were signing papers to take her. I heard Martin's voice in my head. Predictable escalation. Madison wasn't just trying to scare me. She was trying to build a case. I drove like I had ice in my veins, not reckless, focused, because the worst thing I could do was arrive hysterical and give Madison her favorite label. When I walked into the school lobby, Madison was standing at the front desk like she owned it. She looked polished, hair perfect, makeup clean, outfit neutral, cream sweater, dark jeans, the kind of concerned family member costume that photographs well. Brett stood behind her, arms folded, face smug like he was watching a show. And my mother was there too, Diane, holding a manila folder like it was a holy object. My father stood beside her, eyes down. Madison turned when she saw me and smiled. Not warm, not relieved, satisfied. "See?" she said loudly, turning slightly so the secretary and two parents in the lobby could hear. "This is exactly what I'm talking about." She ran off, wouldn't answer calls, and now she's acting like everything is normal. I didn't respond. I walked straight to the desk. "Hi," I said calmly to the secretary. "I'm Lily Parker's mother. Lily is not to be released to anyone but me. I've already notified the school in writing. There is also a police informational report." Madison's smile twitched. "Oh my God, Hannah, you're really doing this?" I turned to her and kept my voice low. "You threatened to take my daughter." Madison widened her eyes dramatically, then looked at the secretary. "You hear this? This paranoia? This is what we've been dealing with." My mother stepped forward, voice trembling but rehearsed. "Hannah, honey, we're just worried. You're not yourself." Not yourself. That phrase, the way families use it to erase your boundaries and call it love. I looked at my father. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Madison lifted the manila folder and held it out like evidence. "We have forms," she said. "Temporary guardianship, for emergencies. Lily can stay with us until Hannah gets help." I stared at the folder. "Let me guess," I said softly. "Signed by Mom and Dad." My mother nodded like she was doing something noble. "It's just until you stabilize." I felt something in my chest go still. Not breaking. Still. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was an attempted theft. Not of money, of my child. The principal appeared from the hallway, face tight with discomfort. "Mrs. Reed," he said, trying to keep the peace. "We received the mother's written instructions. Lily will not be released." Madison cut him off. "Then you're risking a child's safety." Brett stepped forward. "Do you want the lawsuit headline? School ignored warning." I looked at Brett and felt a cold clarity. This wasn't Madison's first time using intimidation. This was just the first time she used it on me in public. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. I held it up, not aggressively, just enough. "I'm recording," I said calmly. Madison's smile tightened. But she didn't stop. She loved an audience too much. Good, she said. Record how unstable you are. I nodded slightly. Okay, then I turned to the principal. Call the officer, I said quietly. The one assigned to the school. Madison scoffed. Are you insane? No, I said. I'm prepared, my mother's voice rose, sharp. Hannah, don't you dare embarrass us like that. I stared at her. You already embarrassed yourselves, I said, calm as glass. Yesterday you told me to leave your party and not come back. Today you're here trying to take my daughter. My father finally spoke, voice low and harsh. You forced us into this. I blinked slowly. I forced you into what? Signing paperwork to take my kid. Madison's eyes flashed. Then she snapped back into performance mode. She's twisting it. She always twists it. I didn't argue, I didn't plead. I waited. Because arguing with Madison is like wrestling smoke, and I knew what mattered. Time, witnesses, paper. Footsteps approached. A uniformed school resource officer entered the lobby. He looked at the folder, looked at Madison, looked at me. Ma'am, he said to Madison, what's going on? Madison launched into it instantly, voice quivering on command. I'm her aunt. My sister is unstable. She ran off with the child last night. We're trying to protect Lily. We have guardianship papers. The officer held up a hand. Guardianship papers don't override a parent's legal custody without a court order. Do you have a court order? Madison froze for half a second, just half. Then she recovered. We're in the process. In the process means no, the officer said calmly. The school has instructions from the parent. Lily stays here until her mother picks her up. Madison's voice rose. So you're going to leave a child in danger? The officer looked at me. Ma'am, is your child in danger with you? I held my phone up slightly. I have a police informational report filed this morning about threats from Madison Reed. I also have a text message where she threatened to take my daughter. Madison's face tightened. Do you want to see it? I asked the officer. Yes, he said simply. I showed him the screenshot. Madison's expression shifted. A flicker of fear. Because she hadn't expected anyone to take her seriously, except the people she was manipulating. The officer read it, then looked at Madison. Ma'am, he said, you need to leave the premises. Madison laughed, sharp and ugly. This is ridiculous. Now, he said, or you'll be trespassed. Brett stepped forward. Officer, the officer didn't even look at him. He looked at Madison like she was a problem he'd solve with procedure, not emotion. And Madison hated procedure when she wasn't controlling it. My mother's eyes were wet now, not with empathy. Panic. Hannah, she whispered, please. Don't do this. I stared at her and felt nothing soft. You did this, I said quietly. Madison's voice snapped. Fine. She snatched the folder from my mother's hands and shoved it back under her arm. But before she turned, she leaned close to me and hissed through her smile. You think you won? I looked at her. Madison, I said, voice low, you came to my daughter's school and tried to take her, in front of witnesses. While I was recording, I don't have to win. You already lost. Her eyes widened slightly. Because she finally realized something. This wasn't private family fight anymore. This was documented. The officer escorted them out. Madison walked fast, jaw clenched, still trying to look dignified. Brett followed. My parents shuffled behind them like they'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. And when the lobby doors shut, the air felt different, like the building itself exhaled. The principal turned to me. Mrs. Parker, he said carefully, we will note this incident in Lily's file, and we will contact you immediately if they return. I nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Collins stepped closer. Hannah, are you okay? I almost laughed. No, but okay enough to keep going. I will be, I said, because there was still one thing Madison hadn't accounted for. Madison thought my power was the money. She was wrong. My power was the truth, and the truth was going to be expensive. For her. That afternoon, I did what I should have done years ago. I stopped protecting people who never protected me. I went home. Yes, home. Because it was my home now, not theirs. And I opened my laptop. I didn't write a rant. I didn't beg. I didn't explain my feelings like a defense. I posted facts. I posted Madison's public Facebook post accusing me of punishing the family with money. Then I posted the screenshot of Madison's threat text. Then I posted the email confirmation from the school counselor, with private details blurred, proving Madison had contacted the school claiming I kidnapped my own child. Then I posted what I'd avoided for years. Receipts, 3 years of monthly payments to my parents. The quiet help I never bragged about. The transfers labeled Dad Meds, the payments toward their debts. And I wrote yesterday, at my parents' anniversary party, my sister Madison and my mother told me to leave and not come back, while my 7-year-old stood beside me. Today they came to my daughter's school with paperwork trying to take her. This is not concern, this is control. Then I wrote the line that made my hands stop shaking. The envelopes I tore were cashier's checks I planned to give them. One to pay off my parents' mortgage. One for medical debt. One for Madison. I tore them after they told me my child and I don't belong. I didn't list amounts. I didn't need to. People didn't need numbers to understand motive. They just needed the pattern, and the pattern was loud. I hit post, then I turned off my phone and made Lily a snack like it was any other day, because Lily deserved normal. 2 hours later, I turned the phone back on. It was chaos. Madison's supporters had gone quiet. Some deleted comments. Some messaged me privately, suddenly polite. A cousin wrote, "I had no idea. I'm so sorry, Aunt Denise. Who told me to apologize the night before wrote this has gone too far." Then Madison did exactly what Madison always did when she got caught. She tried to erase the evidence. Her original post disappeared. Her comments vanished. Brett's account went private. But it didn't matter, because screenshots don't care about regret. That evening my mother called. Her tone was different now. Not commanding, not hosting. Begging. "Hannah," she whispered. "We didn't know Madison would do that at the school." I stared at the wall and felt my jaw tighten. "You signed the papers," I said. My mother started crying. "We thought it was just temporary. A scare. To get you to calm down. A scare," I repeated softly. "To scare me into compliance. To scare Lily into a different home." My mother sobbed harder. Please take the post down. People are calling. Your father's sister, she won't stop." So it wasn't about Lily, it was about reputation. I closed my eyes. "No," my mother gasped. "Hannah?" "No," I repeated. "The post says, and you're not welcome near Lily's school, her home, or her life." My mother's voice sharpened through tears. "You can't cut us off like this." I laughed once quietly. "You told me not to come back. Remember?" Silence. Then in the background, I heard Madison's voice yelling. Furious, muffled, like a storm behind a door. My mother whispered, "She's losing her mind." I almost said good. But I didn't, because the truth was worse than that. Madison wasn't losing her mind, she was losing control. And that is the one thing she could never tolerate. I ended the call. The next week was a blur of adult things that shouldn't happen to a woman just trying to raise a child. Martin filed for a protective order. The school was notified again formally. A cease and desist letter was delivered to Madison and Brett. My parents tried to come by with a peace offering. A cake. Of course it was a cake. Frosting doesn't fix betrayal. I didn't open the door. Lily watched through the window curtain with a strange, quiet calm. "She's crying," Lily whispered. I crouched beside her. "You don't owe anyone access to you because they're crying." Lily nodded like she was collecting a life lesson she should never have needed. "Okay," she said. That night, Lily asked, "Do I have a grandma now?" My throat tightened. "You have people who love you," I said carefully. "And you have me. That's enough." Lily stared at her rabbit. "I think it is." That's when I knew I'd done the right thing. Because the alternative, the old pattern, would have taught her that cruelty is normal and love is something you beg for. I refused to hand that inheritance to my child. 3 months later, Madison tried one last thing. A letter, not a message, not a call. A letter like she was writing to a judge. Inside was a single sentence. "If you don't apologize publicly, I'll tell everyone what you really got when Caleb died." I stared at it, then I laughed, because she still didn't understand. I didn't care if people knew. The money wasn't my shame. My shame had been trying to buy my way into a family that only valued me when I was useful, so I didn't respond. I kept living. I worked. I built routines. I put Lily in dance class because she'd asked once, quietly, and then never asked again because she'd learned not to want too much. I made sure she was allowed to want. And one afternoon, months later, Lily came home from school holding a drawing. It was our little hotel room. 2 beds, a TV, and a stick figure holding another stick figure's hand. At the top she'd written, "Safe place." I swallowed hard and hugged her so tightly she squeaked. "What's this?" I whispered. Lily shrugged like it was obvious. "That was when you didn't let them take me." My eyes burned, because that's what children remember. Not the cake, not the party, not the banner. They remember who protected them. So tell me, did Hannah go too far or not far enough? And one more thing, where are you watching from? Comment it below and subscribe to Stories Untold for the next story.